I'm not quite sure if I have mentioned this to you, but in order to improve the overall service that you're getting, we have brought in a couple of changes, which I will introduce to you now in the next 7 minutes that we have. Chandani, I'm seeing you for the first time. Have you watched any of my recordings? Yeah. So, first things first, the ones who are live, we take a live attendance just to know who is attending, who is not attending, so we know uh, who to kind of follow up with in terms of no attendance, right? And the ones who are recording, the ones who are watching the recording, the LMS will be able to capture automatically how many videos have you watched, when did you watch, from where, which device did you watch from, things like for how long did you watch. So that is our way of like capturing attendance. But again, as I said, I've seen this name for the first time, Shada. Shada, you're not there on the LMS also. I don't know, some random people are just entering and leaving. So Ashmeet is there. Babin is there. Last week we had good attendance. Everybody was present. I had like about 10 people present. Today we have like only two, right? Now, what do we have? What are we looking at? We're looking at two things. One is every Friday, there will be a test assigned to you on the LMS. Right? Every Friday, there's a test assigned to you. Now, this test will cover everything until what is taught. What do I mean by that? Is today we have a class Wednesday. So say until today I complete say 4 chapters out of about 14 chapters in your textbook. 4 chapters if I complete today, right? These 4 chapters will be tested. On Friday. Where will we test from? We will test from the textbook, Kaplan kit, DBP kit, study hub practice questions, everywhere. We will test you from literally everywhere. Right? It will be an MCQ test and you will get your marks immediately. And also the test will be open until Monday morning, 11 a.m. Until Monday morning, 11 a.m., your test is open. After 11 a.m., the test will automatically expire. This is to allow for working professionals. Okay, so to allow working professionals to be able to write the test, what we have is Friday, Saturday, Sunday, until Monday morning, you have time to do the test. You can do it at your convenience whenever it is okay for you. Until Monday morning. So that is the other new thing that we have. As soon as your test is submitted, I will be able to see it here. So this is one of the tests that happened this week. I can see everything. I can see how long did you take. I can see when did you submit the test. How much did you score along with your answers? View answers. If I click, I can see it. So that way we will be able to assess your performance and track you. So that is one part with the testing part. The next second part is what? Second part is basically where we will also be uploading kit questions where we will be making videos where we are solving exam kit questions randomly. What do I mean by randomly? Maybe randomly I'll take Kaplan kit questions and I'll do that. Randomly I will take BPP questions and I'll do that. Maybe sometimes we'll take study hub practice questions and we'll do that. We will randomly do it and we will upload it on the LMS so that you can watch it. Because the idea is by the time the syllabus is over, okay, by the time the syllabus is completed, what we want to do is we want to be done with textbook. Textbook is done. Kaplan kit is done. BPP kit is done. Study hub articles are done. From our side, right? So ensure that you are watching these videos so that you are, by the time the syllabus is over, which should be like, say, I would try to do it by 10th of May. By the time the syllabus is over, we will not only is the textbook syllabus over, but also what is over? Your kits are done. Okay. Anyway, with that, we will start the class for the day. And again, our last class. So technically, this is our first, second, third, fourth. So this is our fifth class. So basically, I want to be completing the fourth chapter at least. Okay, I want to complete the fourth chapter and at least, like in brief, touch up on the fifth chapter. Right? Touch, just touch. I'm not saying I'll complete the fifth chapter, but I just want to say, oh, hi, we're doing risk. Okay. So we were doing corporate governance. I introduced what corporate governance is. I gave you the example of Enron. We watched the video and I told you what are the OECD principles. Now, in today's class, we're going to look at this in a lot more detail. And here we're looking at, again, objectives of corporate governance. I told you what it is. I mean, corporate governance is the means by which a company is operated and controlled. We saw this. We saw the example of Enron. We saw the 6 OECD principles. Okay. Now we're going to look at the board leadership and company purpose. Okay. See, I don't know how many of you have seen a ship. Seen a ship, as in, of course, you've seen a ship. But I don't know how many of you have seen a ship up close. Up close means you've been on a ship, you've seen how a ship works. See, a ship is run by the crew. Yes or no? Ship is run by the crew of the ship, headed by the captain. Now, why am I telling you this? It's because a company is like a ship. in the sea. And the board of directors are the captains of the ship. Or I can give another example where you can say the company is like, say, a country, and the board of directors are the government. So their role, the board of directors' role, is it just, oh, you're the boss, so you will just come and sit and just give orders? No. The board of directors' role is not just to, you know, it's not just to, again, with respect to the ship, it's not just to navigate storms, but overall ensure that the ship is sailing smoothly, right? So the board of directors are also doing the same thing, right? So, guys, just give me 1 second. Yeah. So, again, their role is to ensure the company is run smoothly, is run proper, just like how the ship is sailing smoothly. Right? So again, if I go back to the analogy, what I would like to say is the role of the captain is to make sure the ship is sailing smoothly. Also, navigate storms. Okay. Making sure that we are well aware, oh, there is an iceberg. So we have to move the ship to a certain direction. Oh, the iceberg. See, there's an iceberg. So would you want to knowingly know, that there is an iceberg? So will you sail the ship in that direction? No, unless the captain is in the mood of suicide, right? So where there are risks, we need to ensure. Now, again, in the next chapter, we will learn risks. I'm just briefly kind of like just mentioning it here. Where there are risks, you need to ensure that you're moving away from it. Okay. So on the ship, we have various people. Okay. We have the chairperson, who is, of course, the captain, the head captain. So again, remember, this is just an analogy. Analogy as in an example that kind of relates to something. Again, when there's an iceberg, sorry, I didn't complete that. When there's an iceberg, you sail away from it. Right? And there are various people involved in basically taking the ship to the right place. So the captain will be there, right? We will have various other people also. For example, we will have like a navigator. Then we will have those people who look at after the day-to-day functions of the ship. For example, ensure that petrol is poured. I don't know what, honestly, I really don't know much, but ensure that petrol is poured. Ensure that day-to-day functions, as in what? Make sure the food is ready, food is there, though the rooms are maintained. Now, again, these are not cleaners, okay? These are not servants. They are on a senior level looking at the day-to-day operations. And then we have the advisors. So the captain, the one who is the head of the ship, is the captain. And in terms of a company, as I mentioned, I'm going to remove all this, but as I mentioned, a company is like a ship. The board of directors are like the captains, right? Where, again, each person takes on a certain role. For example, to ensure the company is run properly, we have the chairperson. Sorry, not the company run properly. To ensure the board of directors is managed properly, we have the chairperson. He will look at the board of directors. He will be the head of the board. Right? So chairman is a powerful person. And suppose this is the company. Generally, I explain with my boxes. This is the company. And there is a chairman who is heading the board. He's heading the board. But apart from that, in green is the CEO. CEO is the person who will be running the day-to-day operations. Remember, I said there will be somebody who in the ship who will take care of the day-to-day operations. The CEO runs the company. He does the executive part. Okay, so there's the chairman who I've put as C, and there's the CEO, Chief Executive Officer. Right? Can the chairman and the CEO be one person? I am the chairman, I am the CEO. Is that okay? Is that a good idea? Maybe we'll save some money, no? We'll save some money. Can the chairman and the CEO be the same person? No. Because if the chairman and the CEO is the same person, Arya Priya Bhuyan and Shreyoshi Kar, have you watched any of the recordings? We don't want the chairman and the CEO to be one single person. We don't want it because if it is one single person, then one single person will become too powerful. And if that happens, there is a danger that he may do as per his wishes. He may mismanage the company. He may misrun the company. Right? So that's why chairman and CEO should be separate people. Right? So I hope that part is clear. Chairman and CEO should be two separate, different people. Right? And that is what you have on this first page. That's it. It's a very simple. Of course, just like a ship which is sailing by having the right crew, a successful company is led by a strong board. Now, again, all these things go without saying. The board should lead by examples, all that things. I mean, there's not much to explain there. But we can summarize the points. How will we summarize the points? The company needs a strong board of directors in place. Number one. Number two, the directors must lead. Lead means what? They need to do things and show. The directors must lead by example. Right? The board should ensure that all the things that are needed for the company. Now, again, don't worry about what resources, why, where, and all that. But the board should ensure that all the things that the company needs, the company has. There. Right? Fourth is what? The board should also again make sure that there is proper coordination with the various stakeholders. Remember this, when there is a company, yes, the directors run the company. So all these people in red are the directors. Correct? Directors are there. But there are so many other people who are interested in the company. Those people are known as stakeholders. So many people who are interested in the company. Like, for example, maybe the shareholder, the owner of the company. Obviously, the owner of the company is interested. Maybe employees, they are interested. Maybe customers, they are interested in the company. Maybe banks who have lent to the company, they are interested in the company. So the board should ensure that there is proper engagement with these stakeholders. You don't just leave them as it is. So that is the responsibility of this board that is here. Right? So as the board of directors should ensure that there is proper engagement with the various stakeholders. Should ensure that there is proper engagement with the stakeholders. For example, in FinChartered Academy, where we have this thing that we have a hotline number where students message, and we are getting in touch with the students every now and then. We're engaging with them. We're not just having students and leaving them. Same way, there are so many people who have an interest in the company. So the board must ensure that we are engaging with all those stakeholders. Right? So these are some important things that the board has to do and take care of. Right? So that is what this paragraph is talking about. For now, just look at this and see if you're comfortable. Meanwhile, all these new names who I have not seen, Arya Priya, Bhuyan, Shreyoshikar, Babu. Guys, just make a note of this. So I hope that is easy to understand for all. Okay. Now what are we doing? The next thing we're going to look at is about, again, some important things that you must know without fail. Again, I did mention this. Again, it's just give me 1 second. Now, guys, if that is clear and easy, the next thing that we're going to look at is, again, I did mention this, I did give this example, but A well-structured board is very, very important for a company. We need a well-structured board.
It's 6 o'clock.
It will be like a backbone for the company. Okay. Power should not be in the hands of one person, because if power is in the hands of one person, they may misuse. Just like a dictator. Do we want somebody like a dictator to just decide whatever they want, however they want? No. We want a proper balance of power, right? So again, we need a structured board in place where no one single person is dominating. And for that, the first thing is something that I've already explained. Chair is basically chairman, chairperson, whatever you call it. Chairman and CEO must not be the same person. Because we don't want no one individual to hold too much power. Number one. Okay? That's the most important thing. Now, guys, again, I don't really enjoy the order of the textbook. But again, we're looking at this. As I mentioned, the chairman is the one who is like, he is the one who is heading the board or leading the board. And we've just seen what are the jobs of the board. We are effectively engaging with the stakeholders and ensuring that all informations and discussions are flowing freely. Right? So the chairman is heading the board. But what about the CEO? CEO, executive in English, means people who execute. Execute means do. So, as the name suggests, executive director, chief executive director would be that director who is the heading the execution part or executive part or doing part, running the day-to-day operations part, organization part, running the day-to-day organization, day-to-day duties of the organization. CEO. Right? And under the chief, just like under the chief, say there is a chief minister. Under the chief minister, you have the various ministers. Under the chief executive directors, there will be the individual executive directors who will report to the CEO. So maybe there is, marketing director. Maybe there is an operations director. So operations director will head the operations. Finance director. Sales director. So basically how it's looking is like this. The board itself, how it's looking is, there's the chairman and there's a CEO. Under the CEO, again, chairman heads the board. CEO executes or is responsible for running of the organization. He's the head. Under the CEO, there will be the individual executive directors. Who will report to the CEO. Right? So this is how it looks. And all these people are part of the board. See, I've put it in a board. This board has various responsibilities, which I mentioned above. Before coming here, I mentioned the responsibilities of the board, right? So I hope this is okay. Then apart from that, we have executive directors, but we also have people who are known as NEDs. NED is the non-executive director. I'm underlining the letter N. N means non. No, they are not executing. They're not doing any day-to-day operations. But see, a director is somebody who is very powerful, correct? So I'm just drawing like a dumbbell. So a director is a powerful person. We need somebody to watch the directors, the executive directors, to monitor the executive directors, to see how they are doing, to see if they're making any mistakes, to see if they're doing any fraud. So the non-executive directors are not executing anything. They're not doing the day-to-day running of the organization, but they are watching and monitoring the executive directors. This is again to ensure proper corporate governance. If there is somebody who is constantly watching the actions of the executive directors, obviously the executive directors will also be aware that there are people who are watching them. And obviously, they will be more mindful of the decisions that they've made. And again, we need more of these monitors. Who are these monitors? NEDs. And again, if it is one single monitor, they will be like, nobody will care. At least half of the board should be NEDs. So even NEDs are empowered. There are a good number of NEDs. Right? So half of the board should be non-executive directors. You understand? And these non-executive directors should not be involved in the day-to-day operation, should not be involved in the day-to-day running of the organization. Their job is only to monitor what is happening. I hope that is clear. Why is that the case? Again, the first thing we said is chair and CEO to be separate. Well, I'm just summarizing whatever is in this box. First thing, what is the first thing? Chair and CEO separate. Second thing, what did we do? The CEO is the one who is the head of the executive part. So the executive directors. He's the boss of the executive directors. Executive directors will do the day-to-day running of the organization. But we need somebody to watch the executive directors. How are they doing? How are they performing? Are they doing a good job, bad job? All of that, we need somebody to watch. So we have non-executive directors whose job is simply to monitor the executive directors. Guys, these 4 points, are they clear? Yes or no? Along with this table that I've drawn, are these 4 points clear? Yes, Ashwin. Now I'm zooming in more into, let me remove this drawing. I'm zooming in more into non-executive directors. So you can make a note of these 4 points. And then I've highlighted non-executive directors in blue. I'm going to zoom into that. Once that is okay, once you're clear with this, we're zooming into this aspect. Tell me one thing. Again, we've seen ethics, we've seen independence is important, we've seen threats, we've seen safeguards. Tell me one thing, right? And the one thing is the monitor, okay, the invigilator. Forget ACCA, forget AA, completely forget it. Just forget it. When you write the exam, should the invigilator be your friend? What do you feel? No, invigilator should not be your friend. Yes, Ashmi. Because invigilator will not be independent. He is your friend, so he'll try to help you. He will try to defend you, right? So the most important thing with non-executive directors is these are also monitors, basically. They're monitoring the executive directors. Therefore, again, the continued part of non-executive directors, I've zoomed in, non-executive directors should be independent. They should not be like the director's friend. They should not be involved in any personal relationships. They shouldn't have any financial ties with the company. Okay, yes, of course, they are getting paid. But apart from that, they shouldn't be some people who have like major ownership. Not ownership, but again, when it comes to independence, we need to ensure that they are entirely independent and there's no reason that their independence is compromised in any way. So they need to be independent. Only then they'll be able to monitor properly. So the NEDs are what? NEDs are independent people, completely independent from the company. They are simply watching over the actions of the executive directors. Let's zoom in further now. One of these NEDs is taken in as the head NED. See, even in NEDs, in executive directors, who is the head? Who is the head of the executive directors? It's written on the screen. Who is the head of the executive directors? The CEO. Very good, Ashwin. The CEO is the head of the executive directors. So, who is the head of the NEDs is this person I have marked here. The head of the NEDs is the senior independent director. He is in fact like a counterbalance to the chair itself, to the chairman itself. Like the NED's head is a senior independent director who will overall see how is the board being run. So the head of the NEDs is the senior independent director. one independent NED should serve as the senior independent director. Okay. So we've zoomed in into the NED part. Now again, we are zooming out. So I hope this much part about NED is clear. Again, you can make a note of it. So we are moving out a bit again. So we've looked at chair and CEO. We looked at CEO as the head of the executive directors. We've seen that the executive directors do the day-to-day running of the organization. And then we have non-executive directors who monitor the executive directors. Then we zoomed into non-executive directors and we said that these people need to be independent. And one independent NED should be the senior independent director, who will be overall monitoring the activities of the board. Okay. So all this is done. Right? Now, the next thing that we are looking at is again NEDs. We've just looked at this. Participate at board meetings. They will be part of the board. I didn't say they are not part of the board. They're just that they're not executive directors. They're not doing anything, but they will watch. Right? And they are people who are also very senior people. So obviously, to watch, to monitor, to check, you will have independent people, and they are knowledgeable people. Knowledgeable people, as an NAD, would be somebody who has a lot of knowledge about the overall activities of the board, the overall activities of the organization, because only then they'll be able to monitor. No, you don't know cricket, you don't know how to play cricket, you don't know how to play football, but you are the referee. How will that work? So obviously, NEDs are knowledgeable parties. Who bring expertise to the table, contacts, and assistance to the table. They don't do the running of the organization, but they are monitoring, they will guide, they will give their opinions, they will bring contacts to the table. So as we've seen, they bring external expertise to the company, they are independent, and they will oversee the board. Okay, we've seen that part. However, there are also some disadvantages of NED. So let's that be the next thing that we're doing today. Okay, so the first thing was, today's date is 2nd of April. So the first thing was introduction to the board of directors, where we looked at these points. We've looked at the board roles. We've seen chairman, CEO, executive directors, non-executive directors. Then we zoomed in more detail to non-executive directors. And I told you which points. These points. They should be independent. One independent NED should be a senior independent director. They are knowledgeable. So we looked at NEDs in more detail. In more detail. They are independent. They bring knowledge. Knowledgeable. And there will be one head who is the senior independent director. Okay. Once that is over, once that is clear, once that is comfortable, we look at advantages and disadvantages of NEDs. We look at what? We look at advantages and disadvantages of NEDs. The advantage is what? As I mentioned, they are overseeing the board. So if somebody outside is monitoring, an outsider is monitoring, the people within, they will be very careful. So they oversee the whole board. And they are independent. Remember, don't forget this. I'm not mentioning that because I've mentioned it earlier, but they are independent. Okay. And what did I say? They bring external expertise to the company because they are outside. These are the advantages of having an NED. But suppose I need an NED for Fin Chartered Academy. Somebody who can watch me, somebody who can watch my actions. How will we watch? Okay, you will say we will take an NED. But an NED is a senior person who is very experienced, who has a lot of technical know how, who will watch you. And it may not be easy to find the best person to fill this role, to play this role. Right? It's not easy. I mean, for Fin Chartered specifically, a training center for professional finance courses, we need somebody who has the relevant experience. I have a friend who has experience in schools, but he may not be able to watch over us, Fin Chartered. You understand? So to find the best person to play the role, it may not be easy. Second, as I told you, they are independent people, meaning that they have their own full-time jobs. They're just monitoring the action of the executive directors. So, for example, my friend, I hire him as NED for FinChart, but he has his own business. He has his own companies. And because of this, he may not have the time to give to FinChartered. He may not have the time that is needed to give to FinChartered Academy. He may not have the time. This is a clock. So the second disadvantage is they may not have the time. Again, they are outsiders, so they may not have all the information about the company, and or they may not have the time. Okay. The third most obvious drawback or disadvantage of an NED is, again, these are senior people. They don't come cheap. They're expensive. So again, you need to know what are the ups, the positives, and what are the downsides. right? So make sure you are making a note of this. I'm going to give you 2 minutes. Okay. So I hope this is clear. I hope this is simple and easy. Okay, so these are the downsides of advantages and disadvantages of NEDs. I hope this is clear, simple, easy. Okay, Shreyoshi, is this the first time you're attending a class of mine? Please make sure you watch all the old recordings. Now, the next thing that we're going to look at is, again, now we saw who does what. The chair is independent, the CEO should not. We're repeating the same thing again and again, guys. See this, the chair leads the board. I told that. Okay, he needs to ensure that proper communication is happening, everybody is contributing, right? The board should be balanced, nobody should dominate. NED should have time to come with their expertise, because if they don't, then that's a disadvantage. We need to have our own policies in place to ensure that the company is running properly. So all these things are like repeat now. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Again, this chapter is a chapter when people see in the textbook, they feel, oh my God, I mean, so much just boring talk through. But it's a very easy and simple chapter. Okay. At least half of the board should be NEDs. I told you this also. Okay, and the NED should be independent. There are some things that talk about the NED being independent. Okay, for example, they should not have any financial connection with the company. They should, all those things are there. They should not have a close family member as a director of the company. Basically, they should be independent. We saw in the previous chapter what are the things that affect independence. One of the independent NED should be the senior independent director. All this I've done. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, the NEDs will watch the chair. They will watch the board. How is it being run? So what we are doing, sometimes, I mean, in a group of friends, 4 friends are there. But 3 friends meet, 3 of them meet together to talk about the fourth one. Fourth one is not there, absent. So 3 people will sit and talk, that guy will do that to me. Oh, he has improved his work. Oh, no, no, he hasn't improved. This is happening at a professional level here, basically, where the NEDs and their head, who is their head? The senior independent director, meet once without the chairman's presence and discuss the chairman's work. Okay, so basically, we're just looking at making sure that the NEDs are independent and they're watching the actions of the executive directors. That's all. Now, coming to something known as appointments. Just make sure, guys, that these 4 things are clear and absolutely comfortable. Now, coming to the part where we're talking about this overall. Okay, so we're talking about the board in more detail. We're talking about composition, succession, and evaluation. See, to appoint somebody a director, can I appoint somebody because they are my friend? Is that good running of the company? Is that good management? Remember, what is corporate governance? Corporate governance is the policies by which a company is run, administered, controlled. If I appoint my brother, if I appoint my friend, is that proper corporate governance? No, very good. So, appointments to the board must be transparent and based on merit. I don't appoint you because you are my friend. To ensure we bring in the right expertise. Number one. And again, I, as the director, I, as the CEO, should not be the one who is deciding who will be the director. We have a committee in place. Committee is a group of people basically who are trying to do something. In order to hire people to the board, not one person will do it. A committee of people will do the nomination of people to the board. This committee of people who will do the nomination is known as the nomination committee. So remember, nomination does not happen by one single person. There is a committee to do that. You understand? And the chairman should not be involved in selecting his own successor. Who will be the next chairman? This should not be in the hands of the chairman itself. Right? So the chairman should not be a member of the committee when the committee is dealing with the appointment of the successor. Say, for example, I am the chairman of FinChartered Academy. Right? If I can choose my successor, who will take the position of chairman from me? I mean, it's like I can decide and I can choose anybody. That should not happen. So the chair should not be involved in selecting his own successor. This should happen by the committee. That is fair, and that is only making sure that the organization is run properly. There are proper policies in place, and that is what is corporate governance. We've seen that. All right. The next thing, so again, appointments to the board. This is about composition, succession, and evaluation. Appointments to the board must be transparent based on merit to ensure we bring in the right expertise. A committee of people will do the nomination to the board, not just one person, and that committee is the nomination committee, and the chairman should not be involved in selecting his own successor. I know this chapter is a little dry, but I hope this is easy. The next thing is the directors should be re-elected every year. Where is that? The directors are re-elected every year. So it's not like once you are appointed as a director, khalas, you can do whatever you want in the company and you will stay for how much ever time you want. No. Directors, based on the work, are re-elected to their post every year. And chair should not serve beyond 9 years. The director should not remain in post for more than 9 years from the date of their first appointment. Okay, so the chairman can take the chair as in the seat, can take the position for 9 years, after which he needs a successor. And again, maybe to get the successor, we might delay that period slightly. Maybe we can extend that period, but we need a proper successor. After 9 years, we need somebody new. Right? Guys, is this clear? Very good. Now, again, those companies that are on the stock exchange, for FTSE 350 companies, there are some more rules. That is, they need to have proper board evaluations every 3 years. Right? So for FTSE 350 companies, we want to, like, after each class, I ask, how much is your rating out of 5? Why? Because I want to evaluate at the end of every class. Same way, for these companies, we want to evaluate board effectiveness every 3 years. We want to evaluate board effectiveness every 3 years. By who? By external board evaluations. So I hope this part is clear, easy, simple, everything is, very crisp. Okay, with that part is done. Right? So I did mention about nomination committee. Nomination committee is that committee or group of people who nominate people to the board, who select people to the board. As I said, the advantage of having nomination committee is it reduces the risk of jobs for the boys. What does jobs for the boys means? It means, oh, I will hire my friends. So I'm giving them jobs and we dominate the company. That will not happen. Why? Because there is a group of people who will select the board, the director. Right? And overall, it reduces the risk of misuse. Okay, I hire you, so you will basically be my puppet. I'm the CEO, I hire you, you are the director, you will be my puppet. That will not happen. Why? Because the nomination committee is the one who is hiring the director. So this ensures that the directors are all selected very carefully in a free way to ensure that the company is running properly. Okay, so all these things we've covered. Again, it's very easy. If you've written down notes, it's very, very simple. We've come towards the end of the chapter. okay, where we are looking at audit, risk and internal control and internal audit and all that. And audit committee, internal audit is some things which are very easy. Of course, how did I forget? The remuneration committee is also. So this is our fourth chapter, guys. And today, as I mentioned, I'll finish this and at least touch the fifth chapter. Now, coming to audit, risk, and internal control, including audit committees. We need what? Just like a fort, and there's a danger, there's a risk that somebody attacks. Same way to the company also, there would be risks. And we need strong policies, proper risk management systems to minimize this risk. We want to minimize this risk. How will you minimize that risk? Proper risk management. Right? Proper internal policies. Now, again, there are various types of risks. Now, when I teach CMA, I go in depth in that. Oh, strategic risk is there is financial risk, there is operational risk. There are various types of risks. But what we need is controls in place to minimize the risk. What do I mean by controls in place to minimize the risk? See, again, before we look at what is there in the textbook as such, okay, we will just cover and make sure that we're comfortable with this. Company has risks, and we want to ensure that we minimize those risks. How do we minimize those risks? With proper risk management and proper policies. Now, again, when it comes to a company, there is risk. Again, that's the next chapter that we're going to look at, risk. And there are within AA, the types of risks that you will look at is detection risk, inherent risk, which is very interesting, by the way. But there is always a danger of fraud, a danger of fraud and error. That is risk. Correct? We need proper measures in place to control it. We need proper measures in place to control, measures in place internally to control. For example, I'll give you a very basic example. But there's petty cash. Petty cash is basically the cash for loose expenses, the cash for petty expenses, the biscuits, or printouts, or those kind of things. Right? There's petty cash in the drawer. I'll show you. There's petty cash in the drawer. Or this can be used for, again, okay, buy biscuits for the office, buy tea for the office, and all that. Can be used, no problem. But there is a risk that somebody will steal it. So you need something internally to control this from happening. Then you need something within the organization to prevent this, to detect this, to kind of avoid this. Correct? How do you think you can avoid this, guys? How do you think we can avoid the petty cash from being stolen? Any guesses? Any suggestions?
Sir, segregation of duties.
Very good, Ashish. Segregation of duties, which we will see in the next chapter. But again, layman terms, what you might do is probably just have a CCTV. Okay. You're just looking, there's a camera. That itself is a control in place. It's either going to minimize or detect. Right? So these are internal controls. So in order to ensure that the company is run properly without fraud, without errors, proper policies are needed. And that's why we're talking about internal controls. What are internal controls? These are basically those things in place within the organization that will prevent, detect fraud and error. Now, again, we're going to look at this in more detail in the next chapter, risk and all that. Right? So the board must identify what are the risks. Like I have identified that somebody might steal the cash. What are the risks? And we need to have proper internal controls. Basically, have proper controls. Right? So, again, when it comes to risk and internal control, it's like a safety net. The internal control is a safety net. So, again, if we have to elaborate on this, the board must assess. I'm just continuing what I mentioned in the previous sentence. Risks and explain in the annual report how they are managing these risks. Okay. And also an annual review of risk management must be conducted. We need to every year see how are we managing our risks. So we need proper protection basically. So I hope risk and internal controls part was clear. Now coming to the audit committee. Again, this is a committee, a group of people who will be, again, look at this. See, this is the company. These are the directors. The director is in blue. The company prepares financial statements. And in order to audit, I mentioned this in the first class, the shareholders appoint an external examiner who will go and examine these financial statements. This guy is known as the auditor. We've seen this earlier in the first class. Those of you who missed it, please ensure you watch those sessions. But within the organization, inside also, there will be a committee known as the audit committee. See, it's not like only the external auditor will come and audit and check the financial statements. Yes, the external auditor will come, he'll be doing the reasonable assurance engagement, he'll be checking the financial statements, and he will be giving his opinion. Yes, no doubt. But even within the organization, there is a committee that does the audit. Right? They ensure that the financial statements are true and fair. And not just that, they are inspectors who are within the company. They will see what are the risks, dangers within the company. Audit committee, they are auditing, they are inspectors, they are seeing what are the dangers. Where will, oh, is somebody going to steal something? And this audit committee, they will ensure that proper controls are implemented to avoid risk. If we have proper strong controls, risks will be avoided.
Sir, when we will upload the recording of today's session?
Most likely today, but if that does not happen, latest by tomorrow morning.
Okay, sir, before 9 o'clock, if happen, upload the recording.
Yeah, most likely. Okay. So anyway,
Okay.
as I was saying, don't worry, I will write also, but this is just to show you like a visual of what is happening. Right? Yes, there is an external auditor in his place. Yes, he is auditing the financial statements. Yes, he is giving his opinion. But within the company, there is a committee who will also check if the financial statements are true and fair and also assess what are the risks. Once they have assessed the risks, they will come with controls. Controls, why? Because if there are strong controls, we can bring down the risk. For example, small layman example. Okay, I'll explain this after the break. It's 6:55. Come back by 7:05 sharp. Okay. Don't leave the meeting, just stay in the meeting. Yes, guys, welcome back. It's 7:05, another 45 minutes of class, and then we are done. And in these 45 minutes, we will completely finish the fourth chapter. And as I mentioned, touch on the fifth chapter, and I'll just mention in brief what it is. Okay. Again, what we were looking at is this. We had started risk and internal control. Now, again, this is something that we will look at in too much detail. Don't worry at all. Right? So, in risk and internal control, what did we see? Guys, are you back? Just confirm. Yes, perfect. An annual review of risk Management. How are we managing risk? What risk management systems do we have? Needs to be conducted. Yes. So that is with risk in internal control. Now, again, don't worry. As I said, we will look at risk and internal control in a lot of detail. Where next chapter is risk. So obviously, in the next chapter, we will look at risk. We will look at the types of risk, not internal, inherent risk, various types of risk we will look at in the next chapter. Okay. And then in the 8th chapter, we will look at controls and internal audit. So don't worry about this at all. Okay. Here, in brief, you need to know things, just briefs. Okay. Now, when it comes to the audit committee is just a group of people. It's a group of people. A group of people. But this group of people should have at least 3 NEDs. As I said, they audit, they check internally if everything is okay. They ensure, they check and see if the financial statements are accurate. They review internal risks and check what controls we have, which is something I just mentioned. What controls we have. For example, there's a risk that if you go out on a bike, you might fall. So you have a helmet. Right? So for the risks, we need like some kind of controls in place to avoid it, catch it. So all of these things are part of the audit committee. Okay. So I hope these 3 points are clear. Make a note. Guys, is this clear? Any problems? This is what audit committee does. Right. So that's it. You should definitely review the points that have been explained. Okay. Audit committee is checking basically. Right. As I said, you need to have at least 3 NEDs where one has financial expertise because you're going to also check financial statements. You also want to ensure that there are proper controls in place. And the audit committee will also be like one place the external auditor can go and get information from. Okay, I'm allowed on that later. Don't worry about that now. For now, you just make a note of what I mentioned. Finally, the thing that we're looking at is a remuneration committee. Again, in simple English, remuneration means pay. Guys, I am the founder of Fin Chartered Academy. Okay, I have been appointed as director. So, as a director, I have a lot of power. Correct? And I want a salary. Okay, fine, good. I'm the director. So I want a high salary. Makes sense. Now let me ask you, imagine you people are directors, are like senior executives in a company. Ashmeet, Shreya, Shreyoshi, and Arya Priya. What salary would you want? What salary would you expect? You're the director, so obviously, like, you have a lot of power. What salary would you ask? Quickly think. The ones who are watching the recording, think as somebody who is powerful. You can set your own salaries. So, what salary will you look for? What salary would you take?